Heartwarming wedding secret revealed, how one stranger changed a billionaire CEO's life forever. In the quaint Midwestern town of Maplewood, where every street corner spills with sweet nostalgia, Sarah found herself in the middle of a whirlwind. At 35, this hardworking single mother of 3 juggled shifts at the local diner and late-night office cleans just to put food on the table. The weight of her world sat heavy on her shoulders, yet whenever she looked at her spirited children, something clicked deep within her. Hope surged amidst the struggle. Now, as she planned her youngest daughter's tiny wedding, a flicker of inspiration bubbled up, awakening a talent for event planning she had buried under years of exhaustion. Maybe, just maybe, this could be a stepping stone toward a dream she always wanted to chase. Under the bright lights of the annual town festival, laughter filled the air, and colorful banners swayed in the warm embrace of a summer breeze. Sarah ran back and forth between booths, her heart racing as she kept her children laughing and engaged. In stark contrast, behind the polished glass windows of a nearby office building, sat Ethan, a reclusive billionaire CEO. He'd built a sprawling empire but felt more trapped than ever, burdened by expectations that stifled his spirit. The festival could hardly entice him, yet something tugged at him. As he wandered off to see what the commotion was about, he stumbled upon the vibrant scene, a warm reminder of what life could feel like, what connection could look like. There, amidst the laughter of children and neighbors, was Sarah. She was the kind of radiant light that sparked life back into his otherwise shadowed world. For the first time in years, he smiled, feeling an almost magnetic pull towards the hardworking woman managing a chaotic but joyous festivity. However, fate is a tricky beast. When Sarah accidentally discovered Ethan's identity, his vast wealth and high-profile status, fear flooded her heart. Hands trembling, she thought about her children. No way could she let them face the disappointment if this turned out to be just another fleeting moment. She felt her confidence shake, memories of her estranged relationship with her mother resurfacing, a mother who dismissed her dreams and choices. How could she let history repeat itself? As whispers of their budding connection swirled through the festival like leaves on the wind, Sarah felt the walls of what she had built begin to crack. Watching their playful interactions from the sidelines, the townsfolk marveled at how 2 completely different worlds met for an instant. Yet within her, the battle raged on: protect her children from heartache or embrace the tender feelings blossoming between them? Just as Ethan began to take steps towards the warmth of a community he couldn't reach through wealth, Sarah's fear intensified. Would her newfound hope lead to a broken heart? The question loomed over them like a dark cloud, terrifying yet beautifully transformative. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the festival lights sparkled in the evening sky, illuminating both joy and fear in equal measure, Sarah and Ethan stood at a crossroads. They could not ignore the connection simmering between them, nor the impact their pasts had upon their present. Time seemed to pause, and the heart of Maplewood beat on around them, filled with laughter, hope, and a promise that echoed in the air. Would they dare take the leap, or retreat back to their safe, but lonely lives? The choice ahead was filled with lingering possibilities, yet at that moment, one thing was clear: love had just begun to unveil its power beneath the festive glow. As the laughter and music filled the warm summer night, Sarah felt a whirlwind of emotions. She looked into Ethan's eyes, and she could see a flicker of something genuine. Yet, the fear gnawed at her. She had fought so hard to build a life for her children. The thought of jeopardizing that for something uncertain felt reckless, even exhilarating. Ethan, she began, her voice barely rising above the cheerful chaos around them. She struggled to find the words. A small girl tugged at her arm, giggling, her face smeared with cotton candy. "Mommy, can we go on the Ferris wheel?" The innocent request pierced through Sarah's turmoil. She glanced back at Ethan, who appeared both amused and captivated by the scene, the child, the sweetness, the simple moment. She caught his smile, and suddenly the doubts began to lose their grip on her heart. "Maybe just a quick ride, sweetie," Sarah said, her voice softer now, more open. She knelt down, brushing a strand of hair from her daughter's face, feeling her heartbeat sync with the pulse of the festival around them. "Can I come?" Ethan asked, his eyes twinkling. "I haven't been on a Ferris wheel in forever." Embarrassment washed over her. Was this man really suggesting he join them? But there was something about his eagerness that softened her defenses. "Sure," she replied hesitantly, an invitation wrapped in masked uncertainty. The two children cheered, dragging her towards the ride, leaving her momentarily overwhelmed. The Ferris wheel loomed above them, its bright colors glowing against the night. As they climbed into a car and it began to ascend, for the first time, Sarah felt the anxiety begin to slip away. She laughed as her children squealed with delight, their faces illuminated by the lights below. "You have a beautiful family," Ethan said, breaking the silence on the way up. His voice was gentle, but there was weight behind it. "I didn't expect to feel so alive tonight." She turned to look at him, really look at him. The billionaire was vulnerable in a way she never expected. "What about your life?" she asked, curiosity creeping in. "Don't you have parties and other people?" Ethan chuckled, but it was tinged with sadness. "I have all that, but it feels empty. I came here tonight to escape, to find something real. I didn't think I'd find it in a small town festival with a stranger and her kids." As they reached the top, the world below them shimmered like a painting. The moment felt suspended, perfect yet fragile. "Isn't it beautiful?" she whispered, taking a deep breath, as if inhaling hope along with the night air. "Yes, it is," he replied, his gaze steady on her. "But to be honest, the beauty is overshadowed by the fear of losing it, of losing you. Our worlds are so different," she said, biting her lip, contemplating the truth of their lives. "How can it work when you live under a spotlight?" "Maybe it doesn't have to," he suggested earnestly. "Maybe we can carve out a little space just for us, away from expectations. A chance to see where this goes." The thought sent shivers racing down her spine. Could she dare? Could she let her heart risk the fall for a man like Ethan? Just as the moment settled, the ride started to descend, and laughter erupted from her children as they saw the ground rushing towards them. What was once a world painted in shadow began to morph into shades of light, possibilities swirling like the festive confetti below. Sarah took a deep breath, knowing all too well that the choice they faced was monumental. As they landed, she felt the warmth of Ethan's hand brush against hers, and a spark ignited. Would she choose to allow the possibility of love into her life again, risking everything she worked for? The festival buzzed in a joyful chaos, and while her children's laughter echoed in the night, within her heart a battle was raging. The question hung heavy in the air: could she embrace this connection and invite a beautiful chaos into her world? And as they stepped off the ride, Sarah realized she stood on the edge of a decision that could change everything. What would she find when she dared to leap? As they stepped off the ride, Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline. The carousel of emotions spun in her heart. The laughter of her children rang in her ears, filling the fleeting silence with warmth and comfort. The night felt electric, every moment charged with possibility, yet every heartbeat echoed her fears louder. Ethan took a deep breath, seemingly more grounded than she felt. "What do you want to do next?" he asked, looking down at her, his gaze heavy with expectation. She hesitated, glancing at her kids who were already tugging at the edge of her shirt. They wanted to play games, to run wild. She wished for the same simplicity, yet something in Ethan's presence offered her a flicker of curiosity that warred with her reservations. "Maybe we can get some ice cream?" she suggested, the suggestion contingent on their bright eyes. "Sounds perfect." Ethan smiled, a disarming grin that lit up his face. Their steps fell into rhythm. Sarah, her daughter, Ethan, and her son, all orbiting around each other. As they moved toward the stand, she couldn't shake the feeling that with each step, she was leaving behind a piece of her guarded heart. They finally reached the ice cream stand. The atmosphere buzzed. Children were yelling for their favorite flavors, and the smell of waffle cones filled the air. 2 scoops of mint chocolate chip for me, her daughter declared, her eyes wide with excitement. Oh, that was always my favorite too, Ethan chimed in, bringing a twinkle to her girl's eyes. The moment felt woven with magic. As Sarah watched her children laugh and joke with Ethan, her heart fluttered. For so long, she had shielded herself, feeling the weight of her decisions, her duties as a mother, eclipsing everything else. But now, with each laugh shared, the barriers she had built began to crack. They moved away from the stand, ice cream cones in hand, laughter spilling into the night. Her son dashed ahead, his cone almost as big as his face. Sarah felt lighter with each breath, savoring the hopeful anticipation that began to blossom inside her. Sarah, Ethan called, catching up. Can we talk for a moment? His tone shifted, overly serious against the joyful backdrop. Sure, she replied, a nervous instinct to glance back at her children. They were playing nearby, absorbed in the world of carnival games. She reluctantly stepped aside, sensing the weight behind Ethan's request. I know it's still early, he said carefully, his voice soft yet firm. But I feel like we started something special tonight. I want to explore it. Can we really try to figure this out? Ethan, she breathed, her heart pounding. The sincerity in his eyes was disarming. What does that mean? What about your life? Your responsibilities? He stepped closer, lowering his voice as if to shield their moment from the world. I want to make more space for what matters. I've lived in shadows long enough. I want light. I want you and your beautiful family in my life, if you'll let me. Her breath hitched. The thrill mixed with doubt, clarity warped into questions. Could she entangle her world in the complexities of his? Before Sarah could respond, her daughter came running, ice cream in her hand, a delightfully smeared smile on her face. Mommy, look what I won at the ring toss. At that moment, the innocent joy in her child's eyes tugged at Sarah, and she felt the heat of Ethan's gaze on her. Wow! That's amazing! She exclaimed, unable to conceal her delight. But the gravity of the conversation lingered, unresolved, heavy in the air. What will it be, Sarah? Ethan's question hung unsteadily between them. The festival felt dizzy and loud, yet her world narrowed down to this one intersection. Could she really abandon her fears and step into a brighter chaos? As her children raced back to the game, the thrill of the festival pulsed around her. Yet, beneath it all, her choice loomed. Would she seize the chance and embrace love again, or retreat back into the safety of her familiar world? What lay ahead terrified her, yet something in her whispered hope. As her kids laughed and called for her, she caught Ethan's eye, searching for something yet undefined. And just like that, she realized she stood at a crossroads, one foot still rooted in safety, the other daring to leap into the unknown. Could she transform this fleeting connection into something profound? Awaiting an answer, Sarah could feel the world hinge on her decision, leaving her heart racing with anticipation and fear. What would happen when she finally chose her path? The laughter around Sarah seemed to blend into a sweet symphony, but the melody of her thoughts played a different tune. Every giggle and shriek from her kids pulled at the threads of her heart, making her feel both elated and restless. What Ethan had just proposed charged the air with an energy she wasn't sure how to contain. Mommy! Look! Her son yelled, triumphantly holding up a small stuffed bear he had just won from the game. It was bright and fluffy, everything a child's heart could desire. Sarah's heart swelled at the joy on his face, yet the unease in her chest refused to fade. This is the best night ever! He shouted, bounding toward her with uninhibited excitement. She knelt down, wrapping her arms around him, breathing in the scent of cotton candy and summer skin. For a moment, she let the warmth of his little body calm her swirling thoughts. Ethan stood nearby, watching them with a soft, almost wistful smile. The affection in his eyes sent another flutter through her. What if that glimmer of connection blossomed into something more? But the questions piled up again. What would that mean for her children? What if she risked everything, and it fell apart? Just then, her daughter approached, ice cream smeared across her cheeks and the little stuffed rabbit clutched tightly in her hands. I named him Twinkle. Can we take him to the fireworks, Mommy? Of course, honey, Sarah replied, the simple joy of her daughter's imagination igniting a warmth within her. She glanced back at Ethan, who now appeared more like a figure painted in hues of possibility rather than the shadows of doubt. Should we find a spot for the fireworks? He suggested, extending a hand. For a heartbeat, Sarah stood still, her heart racing as a war of instincts raged inside her. She could feel the comfort of predictability tugging at her, but Ethan's smile promised adventure, the thrill of stepping beyond her boundaries. Let us go, she said, surprising even herself. The moment she took his hand, electricity coursed through her, merging the familiar with the unknown. They wandered towards the clearing where families were already spreading blankets on the grass. The bright lights of the carnival illuminated the night sky, casting a warm glow on excited faces. Children ran freely, their squeals of delight puncturing the blanket of the night air. Sarah's children spread their blanket out, and as she watched them helped by Ethan to settle in, she felt a spark of hope. Perhaps this night wasn't just an escape, perhaps it could be a step toward something different, something real. As the first firework shot into the sky, exploding into a brilliant array of colors, a sound caught in Sarah's throat. The brilliance above mirrored the chaos and beauty in her heart. She could hear the awe in her children's voices, their eyes wide as they gazed upwards. Ethan leaned closer, his voice low. This is just the beginning, Sarah. I want to be a part of your story. His words struck her like a jolt. Her mind drifted to the weight of her responsibilities, the struggles of single motherhood, and the dreams she once held close. How can you promise that? This is my life, you don't know how complicated it is. But I want to know, he replied, his expression earnest. I want all of it, even the messy parts. As the sky burst with another firework, Sarah's heart shifted in her chest. Could she really let someone in this way? The flickering lights above reflected the confusion swirling in her own mind. The laughter of her kids enveloped her like a warm embrace, pulling her back from her doubts. She looked from them to Ethan, who was watching her with an expression that spoke of hope. But the night was filled with more than just sparks, it was filled with questions. What do I really want? She thought, realizing how pivotal this moment felt. As another firework lit up the night, suspense hung in the air. Was this a fleeting moment of happiness, or could it lead to something deeper? The children squealed with delight at each explosion, their laughter punctuating the silence of her contemplation. She glanced at Ethan, a quiet determination brewing within her. What if I let go of my fears and embraced this connection? She pondered. The final firework soared into the sky, a crescendo of light and color, leaving a stunning afterimage in Sarah's mind. The world seemed to expand and constrict in that instant, knowledge colliding with hope, and then it hit her: would she continue playing it safe or take a leap into the future? Suddenly, all eyes turned toward Ethan. What do we do next? He asked, the excitement evident in his tone. In that moment, Sarah faced the heart of her own yearning. The night brimmed with promise, but could she shoulder the weight of what was to come? With the night still young, Sarah was left with a heart full of questions. What step would she take next, and how might it change everything? As the last firework faded, Sarah felt an electric pulse in the air. The excitement around her morphed into a backdrop for her rising anxieties. The carnival's music mingled with laughter, but they felt distant, like a world away from the whirlwind of thoughts racing through her mind. Mommy, look! They have glow sticks. her daughter yelled, rushing toward the vendor's booth with her brother in tow. They squealed with delight, their little legs barely keeping up with their enthusiasm. Ethan followed closely behind them, laughing at their eagerness. Sarah watched him, his carefree demeanor and genuine smile stirring something deep within her, a longing she had buried for so long. She felt a flicker of curiosity at the thought of sharing this life with him, of intertwining their stories. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice pulling her from her reverie. He stood just inches away, searching her eyes for answers. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's all so new." "New doesn't have to be scary," he said, stepping closer. "It can be freeing. Think of it like the fireworks. They seem unpredictable, but each one is crafted to create something beautiful in the sky. Maybe this is your moment to create something beautiful, too." His words hung in the air between them, heavy and rich with possibility. She thought of him, the smooth way he communicated, his ability to make her feel seen. But what if this doesn't work? What if opening my heart leads to disappointment? The worry pooled in her stomach, making her uneasy. Ethan must have sensed her internal struggle. "I'm not asking you to rush into anything. Just take your time, and I'll be here when you're ready." Her children's laughter, bright and innocent, broke through the haze of apprehension enveloping her. They were running back, hands clutching colorful glow sticks like treasures found among the stars. Sarah's heart lightened as she witnessed their joy, a pure, unfiltered happiness. "Do you see them, Ethan?" She turned, pointing to her kids as they twirled in circles, twinkling lights surrounding them. "They deserve everything. I want to protect them, to keep their world safe." "And that's what makes you a great mom," he replied softly. "You care so deeply. But they also deserve to see you happy, to see you take risks. Life is too short to play it safe all the time." His gaze felt like a warm embrace, soothing the tempest within her. Could he really understand her fears? Could this connection they were forming be something lasting? Sarah took a deep breath, her resolve momentarily strengthening. "What if I just opened the door a little?" she thought, tempted by the thought of possibilities. "Look!" her son shouted, pulling her back to the present. "There's the biggest firework." Just then, a massive explosion of color lit up the sky, illuminating their faces in vibrant hues. Gasps of awe rose from the crowd. For a few long moments, everything felt right, as if the universe were affirming this was where she belonged. Ethan reached for her hand again. This time, it felt like an anchor, grounding her in the swirling chaos of her emotions. "Let us make a promise to each other," he said, his eyes serious yet filled with warmth. "Let us not just watch the fireworks, let us create our own." "Create our own?" she echoed, uncertain but intrigued. "Yeah," he said, a playful glint dancing in his gaze. "Let us make our own moments. Moments that reflect who we are, together." As excitement bubbled inside her, satisfaction wove through the unease. She could feel a shifting tide, not uprooting but refreshing, as ripples of hope began to lap against the shore of her heart. For the first time that night, Sarah smiled, a genuine, radiant smile, a reflection of the budding possibilities. "Okay," she said softly, glancing back at her kids. "Let us do it together." But as the fireworks faded and the reality of life crept back in, doubts remained. Was she ready for this kind of connection? Could she truly blend their lives? What if tomorrow brings more than just today's joy? She wondered, glancing at Ethan, a sea of questions swirling in her mind. With the night coming to an end and all eyes still lit with wonder, she realized this could be the start of something transformative. But would she muster the courage to step into the unknown? As they started to gather their belongings, a feeling of anticipation bubbled to the surface, leaving her heart racing with both excitement and fear. What awaited her in this unwritten chapter of her life? The next morning, Sarah woke to the soft light filtering through her window, a reminder that a new day had begun. The excitement from the carnival still lingered in her mind, but the doubts clawed at her. Could she truly open her heart? With a sigh, she turned to the side, glancing at the calm faces of her children still lost in sleep. They were her world, the center of her universe, yet the thought of inviting someone new into their lives both thrilled and terrified her. "Mommy!" Her daughter squealed, bolting upright in bed. "Can we go to the park today?" The little girl's eyes sparkled with promise, as if she carried the sun within her. "Of course," Sarah replied, feeling a smile tug at her lips. "But how about we pack a picnic? Maybe we can make it special." "Yay!" Her daughter jumped up, pulling her brother from his dreams. "We can bring juice boxes and sandwiches." As they chattered about their perfect picnic, Sarah's heart warmed. This was the joy she wanted, the simple moments of togetherness. But Ethan's promise echoed in her mind, a little seed pushing against the soil of her doubts. They arrived at the park under a brilliant sky, the fresh air filling their lungs with a sense of freedom. The children raced toward the playground while Sarah spread the blanket on the grass. She watched them, her heart swelling with each laugh, each tiny victory of scaling the jungle gym. But Ethan's presence was a ghost lingering just at the edge of her thoughts. Moments later, with refreshments laid out, she spotted Ethan walking toward her, a relaxed smile on his face. "Mind if I join?" he asked, kneeling beside her picnic spread. "Sure," she said, her voice a mix of surprise and excitement. "The kids are just over there." She gestured toward the play set, and he glanced over, a twinkle in his eye. "Looks like they're having a blast," he replied. "Can't believe they were up so early." "I know," she chuckled, a warmth spreading through her chest. "They have a way of waking up with the sun and half a dozen ideas." They fell into easy conversation, the children's laughter echoing around them. Sarah felt lighter, as if the weight of her worries had shifted just a little. Ethan was genuine, and he made her feel okay about the uncertainty. As they shared stories of their own childhoods, she began to glimpse a future woven with shared moments. "Do you think," she hesitated, her heart racing. "Do you think we could blend our families?" Ethan's expression softened. "Absolutely. But it won't happen overnight. It's a journey, right?" "Yes, a journey." Her voice barely above a whisper, she smiled at the idea, a thrill of possibility coursing through her. But then, her son dashed toward them, tugging at her sleeve. "Mommy! Can I try to climb the tall slide? Please." "Of course, sweetheart. Just be careful." A flicker of trepidation passed through her. He was so daring sometimes, pushing boundaries where she wanted to keep him safe. "In fact, I'll go with you." Ethan chimed in, standing up. "I'll show you how to do it safely." Her heart flipped at the ease with which he engaged with her children. There was an unspoken connection forming, a growing bond she had not anticipated. Yet, as they headed toward the slide together, she couldn't shake the feeling that joy often came hand in hand with vulnerability. As they played, laughter echoed through the park, but Sarah's thoughts circled back to her fears. What if this went wrong? What if her heart got broken again? The moment was precious, her children gleefully overcoming their fears with Ethan by their side, but a knot tightened in her stomach. She had to know if this feeling was worth the risk. As the sun began to dip low in the sky, painting the world in soft hues, a question lingered, heavy and undeniable. Was she truly opening her heart, or simply toying with the idea? And just then, as if sensing her turmoil, Ethan turned to her, concern etching his features. "Hey, what's on your mind?" Sarah took a deep breath, her heart racing, and replied, "What happens if this all falls apart?" In the silence that followed, she waited for his answer, hoping the truth would illuminate the way forward or confirm her greatest fears. Would she be brave enough to forge ahead despite the risks? Ethan looked at her, an intensity in his gaze that made Sarah's heart race. It was the kind of look that could either soothe or shatter her. "What if it doesn't?" he began, his voice steady. What if it turns into something beautiful? We can't live in fear of falling apart, Sarah. We have to embrace the moments that make our hearts race, even the scary ones. His words struck her like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. But Sarah's mind couldn't help but wander to darker corners. The last time she had opened her heart, it had ended in heartache. How could she risk her children, too? Ethan, it's not just me. My decisions affect them. They've been through so much already. I don't want to bring anyone into their lives only to have them leave, she said, her voice trembling slightly. He nodded slowly, as if weighing her concerns. I understand. But isn't it worth trying? Life is all about hope and possibilities. And if I've learned anything, it's that love is resilient. A soft smile tugged at her lips, but her heart was still heavy. She glanced over at her children, now gleefully trying to climb the slide with Ethan's encouragement, laughter filling the evening air. Their smiles were radiant, and in that moment, she couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope ignite within her. Okay, she breathed, looking back at Ethan. I'm willing to take a step forward. But it's going to take time. Time is all we have, he replied, his voice warm and reassuring. Let us take this journey together. Just as a comfortable silence fell between them, Ethan's phone buzzed, breaking the momentary peace. He glanced at the screen. I have to take this. It's work, he said apologetically, standing up. Sure, go ahead, Sarah replied, a pang of disappointment tugging at her. She watched as he stepped away, his brows furrowed in concentration as he spoke into the phone. As she observed her children, a strange new thought threaded through her mind. Could this really work? Her heart whispered that maybe, just maybe, there was room in her life for something more. But doubt crept back in as she noticed Ethan's body language while he spoke. He seemed different, tense, distracted. Was work taking over again? Last time they met, he had shared the pressures of his job. Would he still have time for them if this was all real? The question gnawed at her, clouding her newfound hope. As Ethan concluded his call and returned, the light of the setting sun cast a warm glow around them, yet a chill settled in her heart. He smiled at her, but she couldn't shake the concern growing inside her. Everything okay? She asked, trying to keep her tone light. Yeah, just work stuff, nothing to worry about, he said, though his smile didn't completely reach his eyes. Sarah wanted to believe him, but his candor brought a familiar tightness back to her chest. If his work was pulling him away now, how could she count on him when things got tougher? As the picnic wound down and they began packing up, her children's laughter faded into the background, muffled by her swirling thoughts. While they stowed away the remnants of their day, she could feel fresh uncertainty creeping in again. As they headed towards the car, a sudden burst of energy flared from her daughter. Mommy, can we go to Grandma's house? I want to show her my big slide victory. Of course, sweetie. Sarah replied, but her mind was still on Ethan. Could she really handle the stress of a budding relationship while doing her best for her kids? Ethan moved to join them, his warmth a contrast against the doubt swirling inside her. But as they turned to leave, a cry from across the park caught their attention. A small boy had fallen from the jungle gym, and his mother rushed over in a panic. At that moment, Sarah felt an intense wave of empathy crash over her. She had been that worried mother, and she recognized the stark reminder of life's fragility. Could she really let the fear of heartbreak keep her from what could be a wonderful connection? As they walked away, her heart was heavy with questions. Would she let the past darken the potential of the future? The car ride home would be leaden with contemplation. But, somewhere deep within her, a small voice whispered that maybe this was still just the beginning of something beautiful. As they drove, Sarah's heart pounded with hesitance. Would she be able to embrace this journey with Ethan, or would her fears stifle the possibility of joy? The drive home felt like a blur, with the familiar streets morphing into a spiraling maze of thoughts. Sarah's heart thumped loudly against her ribcage, she glanced at her kids in the back seat, blissfully engaged in excited chatter about the day's events. Their laughter was both a balm and a weight on her heart. They deserved happiness, and yet, here she was, spiraling further into uncertainty. Ethan's last words echoed in her mind, "Time is all we have." But could time help her heal? Could it mend the fractures of her past? She knew she had to find a balance between her desire for love and her responsibilities as a mother. The stakes felt higher now. Arriving at her mother's house, Sarah barely noticed the familiar sense of home-cooked meals wafting through the door. Her daughter rushed inside, excitement bubbling over, while her son trailed behind, still caught up in the thrill of their day. Sarah followed more cautiously, stepping into the cozy warmth, yet feeling chilled internally. "Hey, there you are," her mother greeted with open arms. "Did you have a good time?" Sarah forced a smile. "Yeah, it was nice." But her heart wasn't in it. Her mother raised an eyebrow, sensing something was off. "Everything okay, honey?" "Just thinking about changes," Sarah replied, uncertain if she wanted to explore deeper. She knew her mom could read her too well. "Life is one big change, isn't it?" Her mom's voice was gentle, the past years of history weighing on them. "You've got to trust your instincts, Sarah. They rarely lead you astray." As she sat at the counter with her mother, watching her chop vegetables, the sound of a knife hitting the cutting board gave rhythm to her racing thoughts. Could she trust her instincts when the pain of her past loomed so close? Ethan's laughter echoed in her mind, that warm, inviting sound filling her with warmth. But it was quickly eclipsed by the innate fear of repeating mistakes. She recalled how Ethan's eyes crinkled with joy, how he encouraged her children with genuine excitement. But what if he's not really present? She murmured under her breath. "Mommy, look." Her daughter's voice broke through. The kids had set up an impromptu play area with Grandma's old toys. The joy on their faces made her heart swell, amplifying the internal conflict to a deafening crescendo. I just want to make sure we're all okay," Sarah confessed more to herself than her mom. "You know, sweetheart," her mother began softly, "sometimes we have to let joy in, even when we're afraid. You teach them that. Show them how to love not just in spite of fear, but because of it." Her mother's words triggered something deep within her. Love and fear were two sides of the same coin, weren't they? The thought made her stomach flutter. Maybe life's greatest lessons came from taking chances and learning to live through the heartache. That night, as she lay in bed, sleep eluded her. Should she reach out to Ethan? Her phone sat like a forbidden fruit on the nightstand. Her fingers itched to connect, but doubt gnawed at her resolve. Was she ready to take that leap? Her mind danced between thoughts of Ethan's warm smile and the safety of solitude. There was a haunting desire to cling to the familiar pain that ironically felt safer than the unknown. As morning dawned, she felt a surge of determination. Maybe it was time to face her fears head-on. With that thought, she reached for her phone. But just as she began to type a message, a news alert buzzed from her phone, catching her off guard. The headline flashed across the screen: "Local billionaire CEO falls from grace, uncovering secrets behind the fall." Suddenly, her heart raced again. What did this mean? Was it always a fall, or could it lead to something more? The tension in her chest reminded her of the fragility of life and love. She had to know more. This could change everything. Would it become a part of her journey, just as she was considering her own? With curiosity piqued, she knew she couldn't ignore the possibilities unfolding before her. The question was, would she embrace the unpredictable threads of life woven together in a beautiful tapestry, or let the chance slip away? The next morning felt insistent. The sun streamed through the blinds, illuminating the edges of her uncertainties. Sarah's fingers hovered over her phone as she absorbed the news alert, her heart skipping beats. She needed to know more. What had happened to this billionaire? And, more importantly, how did this affect her? With a flurry of energy, she pulled herself out of bed and sank into her routines. The kids needed breakfast, the house needed attention, and, more than anything, her mind needed clarity. As she poured cereal into their bowls, fragments of the story replayed in her mind, a puzzle waiting to be pieced together. "Mommy, can we go to the park today?" her son, Jake, asked between mouthfuls. "Of course, sweetheart," Sarah replied, the warmth of her son's innocent request grounding her. After breakfast, she cleaned up quickly, her own unease stirring beneath the surface. While the kids splashed in puddles made from last night's rain, Sarah found a moment to sit on a nearby bench and scrolled through the news on her phone. The article painted a picture of a lavish life suddenly uprooted, a high-powered CEO, thriving one moment, only to be implicated in a scandal the next. Could his downfall mirror her own uncertainties? Sarah's heart tugged at the thought. If only she could find the courage to face her fears, perhaps she could emerge stronger. As the sun warmed her skin, she made a decision. It was time to dig deeper into this unfolding drama. She needed to learn about the man at the center of it all, understand how a fall from grace could lead to a new beginning. "Mommy, look!" her daughter, Lily, exclaimed, holding out a handful of colorful leaves. "Let us make a collage." In that moment, the world around her faded. The safe, innocent joy of her children filled her heart like a balm, easing her inner turmoil. They were her anchor, grounding her in reality while she dared to dream of new possibilities. But how could she expect to thrive if she kept hiding under the surface? As they wove leaves into a makeshift masterpiece, Sarah's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a notification from a social network, a picture of Ethan dining at a local cafe, his warm smile brighter than ever. A wave of warmth and trepidation washed over her. Should she reach out? Would he be responsive to her uncertainty, or would he simply dismiss her like the ghost of her past? "Mommy! Please help!" Jake's voice broke through her reverie. He had gotten his shoelace tangled in some grass, his big, round eyes looking up at her for assistance. "Coming!" She laughed, rushing toward him. In the chaos of motherhood, there were moments that beckoned her to let her old self go, to reach beyond the ties of her past. But fear lingered like a shadow. By the time she sorted out Jake's shoelace, her mind had made its decision. She couldn't let the day's uncertainty turn into another missed opportunity. After they returned home and tucked the kids in for a nap, she sat with her phone, her heart thundering against her chest. She wasn't just about to send another message. This time, she was choosing to step boldly into the unknown. The words felt liberating as she typed, "Ethan, I saw the news about everything. Can we talk? I've been thinking about life and choices." Just as she hit send, a notification popped up on her screen. It was an alert about the CEO's next public event, a charity gala. The very one surrounded by whispers of redemption. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Was this fate pushing her just the right way? A connection to the mysterious intertwining lives, a billionaire's fall and perhaps her own rise from the ashes. With a mixture of fear and excitement swelling inside her, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something monumental. What if this was her chance to change her own course? As she sat silently pondering the possibilities, one question echoed fiercely in her mind: was she brave enough to embrace the change that was calling her forward? Would she dare to journey into the unknown, or would she let this chance slip through her fingers like grains of sand? The answer lingered just out of reach, teasing her with the promise of tomorrow. As the sun painted golden rays through the trees, Sarah felt the weight of the world in the soft rustle of leaves. The notification had sparked a fire within her, igniting hope, confusion, and the gradual emergence of courage. She had thrown her heart into the unknown with that message. But what did it mean? What would she say to Ethan when he replied? After countless moments of pacing her small living room, her phone buzzed, gracing her with a response. "I'd love to talk, Sarah. How about the gala tomorrow night? It's a charity event, and it would mean a lot to have you there." She read his message again, her heart racing. A gala? The stark contrast between their two worlds felt overwhelming, yet the invitation held excitement rather than fear. For a fleeting moment, the fear surrounding her children's safety melted away, replaced by the thrill of the possibility that awaited her. "What do you want, Sarah?" she whispered to herself, looking in the mirror that reflected her doubts. The truth was, she wanted to walk into that room with him, to embrace whatever might blossom between them, but she feared the tumult it could bring. Yet, as she tucked her children into bed that night, their dreams weaving happiness, she remembered her mother's words about love and joy, how they needed to dance together without fear of fallbacks. Maybe it was time to believe in the bright moments she could create, rather than be haunted by shadows of the past. With newfound resolve, she decided to put on a brave face. The next evening, she slipped into a soft blue dress, one that hugged her curves, yet flowed with a gentle grace. As she applied just a hint of makeup, she felt the nerves start to settle. She was here, ready to step beyond the confines of her protective shield and see what life had to offer. When she arrived at the gallery, the air hung thick with elegance and anticipation. The moment her eyes landed on Ethan, standing tall beside a shimmering display, all of her uncertainty faded. He looked unmistakably handsome, his confident posture accentuated by a tailored suit. And there it was again, that pull, that undeniable connection. "Sarah." Ethan smiled, his warm gaze igniting excitement in her chest. The moment felt transformative, a breath of fresh air, with an undercurrent of hope weaving through them both. "You look beautiful," he said, taking her hand as he guided her further into the event. She felt her cheeks flush at his compliment, but a sense of acceptance nestled in her heart. They mingled through the crowd, sharing laughter and stories, and with each passing moment, they began to weave a bond more profound than either had expected. As they stood near the grand stage where a speaker was showcasing heartfelt stories of resilience, Ethan turned to her. "I really appreciate you coming. I know it's complicated, especially with your family, but I want you to know I'm here every step of the way. No pressure, just plenty of time." His sincerity wrapped around her like a warm embrace, resonating deep within her. She took a deep breath, letting the flutter of fear settle. "I know," she smiled softly. "I've been thinking a lot about how to let love back into my life. Love doesn't just expose us to hurt, Sarah. It teaches us who we are," he replied, eyes earnest. As she focused on Ethan's words, she felt a lightness settle in her heart. In the gentle chaos of the gala, she understood that she had the power to choose to step into the light and allow herself to be vulnerable while safeguarding the love she had for her children. When the applause erupted for the speaker, her heart soared, similar to the fireworks that had illuminated her night at the festival. She glanced at Ethan, and in that shared glance, they both acknowledged a promise, the beginning of a journey they could create together. Later that night, after the gala wound down, Sarah headed back home. Each turn she took felt less of a chore and more like a step toward transformation. Her heart felt fuller, lighter, and clear with intent. Once home, the house was quiet. She tiptoed into her children's rooms, their peaceful faces bathed in the soft glow of nightlights. "Mommy will always be here," she whispered to them, placing gentle kisses on their foreheads, relief washing over her like a balm. Sarah learned, as she turned off the lights in their rooms and closed the doors softly, that life would always hold uncertainties. Yet, with love blooming in her heart, she could face anything. Tomorrow would be a new day, open to adventure, laughter, and every beautiful moment that lay ahead. The journey was just beginning, and she was ready to embrace it all, hand in hand with Ethan and the children who ignited her world. So she whispered into the stillness of the night, "Let us celebrate what could be." You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this community alive. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. What was your favorite moment? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let's spread the hope and possibility together.